Hello guys, welcome to my new video. So in this video, we'll be talking about a new software tool which I recently came across when I was working on one of my projects called StepZen. So StepZen in short is an API, you can say manager. So what it does is it takes all your existing backends, your data sources or your existing GraphQL backend if it's already existing to into and generate one GraphQL endpoint so that you query this manager and then that manager will do its part of getting the required data from the required resource. So as I said, it's really good, especially if you're doing, and if you're in your local development or if you're doing any local testing of your particular type of resource, and this, and especially you're working on more of a front end based solution, and your task is not really to develop any backend. So in that case, I think this tool will really help you to you know to do that so that you have all your resources at one place, and then you can concentrate on your main task, and then do and complete it, so that you are saving your time at the same time the resources. So in the and just to put, I think IBM has acquired the StepZen. So it's with IBM acquiring it, I think it's really a good solution, at least from the standards. So I think it's cool that we can, like if you have any project which needs such setup, you can always look into this solution, and their documentation and their way of using it is really simple. You don't really need to have any high prerequisite knowledge. You just need to know what is a GraphQL is, and some basic understanding of how you write a query and all this stuff, so that you can do that particular step and then do your main task to achieve what you want to achieve. So with that saying, coming to GraphQL. So basically, GraphQL is an query language for your APIs. So basically, you can it acts like an, for example, how Python acts for you to do some particular programming task. In a similar way, GraphQL helps you to query your data sources and get the data get the data out uh, based on your requirement. So what I mean the based on your requirement is, for example, you have hero, the data object, and it has multiple properties in it, for example, name, height, and mass, as you see here in this example. And in a regular setup or REST API, when you see a REST API, you always, for example, you want only the name. You don't want the whole object, but you only want the name. What you do is you write your endpoint, or you give the task to the front end, where the front end always receives the whole hero object and then just takes the name out of it to do whatever the task it needs to do. Or the backend does that thing, like you write an endpoint which only gives you the name whenever it's queried. So as you see, it's either or, and the backend needs to manage all these singular endpoints over the time as it grows, or else the front end needs to maintain those functions which just picks that particular property from the whole object. So with this, with this, front end, back end, who does what thing, is this is where GraphQL comes to make it a bit simple. GraphQL really is more like a front end supportive API language, where the front end developer or the person can mention what he wants. For example, there's a data model as a hero, name, height, and mass, and he just need to create a query. For example, hero, and then he just says, I will just want name. when he sends that request to GraphQL, which only uses singular endpoint. So there is no multiple endpoints like REST API. It always has singular endpoint, and this singular endpoint will receive this query which was requested by the front end, and then and when it resolves, it finds out that he only needs name. He doesn't need the whole object of the hero. He just needs the name. So you just give the GraphQL then gives back only the name of the hero. That's it. So as you see, now it is decreasing a bit of complexity. Where you don't need to have multiple endpoints, to to uh, to do the same thing, or the front end needs to write multiple functions to pick the right properties. So yeah, with that saying, it's not, I'm not really explaining like, I'm not going to explain everything deeply, like how it's going to work and how how this tool is really helpful. But I'm just giving an overview, like what is a GraphQL, so that if you come across in any of your project, maybe you can really dive into the deep and see how to use it, how to play with it. But as of now, it's just like an introductory explanation where this is what GraphQL is. It's like an, in simple put, it's a language to query your API, and it was invented and developed by Facebook. And yeah, it's now used by GitHub, Insta, Coursera, and Shopify. So yeah, I think these companies are using it. So I think it's really worth to try. So yeah, with that saying, let's jump back to StepZen. In with terms of StepZen, as I said, you have one single endpoint, GraphQL server, which is generated, connecting all your backends and data resources, so that yeah, you have this single endpoint to query the required data you want based on your development. So with that saying, and yeah, before going there, I just want to jump back to one more thing. GraphQL doesn't need any installation. Like it's not like it's not like a software tool where you need to install something and then only it starts working. No, it's very specific to the languages. For example, if you go to the for example, if you go into the community, and then if you go into resources, it will take you here, and then you can see there are multiple ways to consume GraphQL. Like for example, if you want to write a GraphQL server, so in JavaScript, you can use GraphQL.js, or you can use Apollo Server. I think Apollo Server is one of the most used in, and it has 14K stars. But GraphQL.js is like a standard, and it has 20K stars. So, but Apollo Server is like a package. It auto comes with the client version. So yeah, you can explore it. Like you can also go back and see, if you go into client, you can see, there's Apollo client. There is multiple way to consume the backend you created. I mean, the server you created. So yeah, so with understanding what is StepZen and what is GraphQL, now let's see how to use StepZen, and also see how to create a temporary data source, and then connect that to StepZen and see how we can manage that data source using StepZen. So StepZen can be used in two ways. One is like for an offline or local version, and the other one is like using StepZen account, which is online version. It's a cloud version where you'll be putting your everything, like you connect everything to your online account, and then yeah, using CLI you do that particular task of maintaining or getting data from the data source. So, and at the same time, you can also do the similar thing in your local development. But for the online version, you just need to have one step done, which is npm install, this particular command you see here. You just need to have that running, and then, yeah, and then uh, it's enough. And then you just need to follow other steps to connect your online account to your local StepZen CLI. But for the local development, you need this step followed by the need of Docker. So Docker is another software tool which helps you to create virtual images of different or different OS on your current host. So that, for example, your current host is Windows and you want to use Ubuntu-based OS for one of your use case. You don't need to previously like you can still use, but previously a lot of people used to have multi dual boot where you have Windows and Ubuntu using the same system. But now instead of doing that dual boot, you can just use Docker and then pull the Ubuntu image, official Ubuntu image, and then use it the way you use a regular Ubuntu system. So it's really useful, especially, and it's really powerful tool. And yeah, if your guys want any, if you guys are interested and want me to, make video on Docker, I can also do that. But for in this video, we are not going to really talk about what Docker is. But for this implementation, we need Docker, and then also to run this npm command, we need Node. So basically, Node is nothing but an engine. It's like a JavaScript engine where, yeah, it actually translates the JavaScript code into into the functional code which the system can understand to do the particular task. So that, yeah, basically you need Node, and with Node you get an package manager, which is nothing but npm. So you just need to run npm install, this G StepZen. So the dash G states that you're installing StepZen globally, so that, yeah, it's accessible all over the system. And the same command, if you run without dash G, it installs in the particular project you're trying to, where you're running this, but when you where you're running this, this command. For example, I open my terminal. For example, if I run, npm install StepZen, it will create a node modules folder within, bar folder, and then, yeah, it installs StepZen to that particular to that particular folder. So only bar folder can access that access StepZen, and if I'm not in this folder, then yeah, I cannot access it. So yeah, so to avoid that, because yeah, we want to use it globally, you just need to copy this without, yeah, making any change to the command. You just copy it. For example, just click here, go to your terminal and paste it. And because I already installed it, I don't need to do it again. But yeah, if you press enter, it just installs and it just says that, yeah, it's installed. And yeah, if there's any errors with installation, for example, if there's any npm errors, I think you can just go to npm official documentation and see what could be the cause of the error. But mostly it should be installing without any error. So yeah, with that saying, after installing the npm and having your Docker running, the Docker demo running. Now let's see how to create a data source and just create a table in it, so that, yeah, we can see how we are able to manage that data source using StepZen. So yeah, now let's see how to create, a data source using Docker. So I'll be using Postgres. So the database which I'll be using is Postgres, and that will act as our data source. So in order to do that, yeah, we'll be running a Docker command, so that, yeah, it generates a container which hosts this database in it, so that, yeah, we are not installing anything locally, but everything is virtually created, and these containers can be managed using the Docker, the Docker desktop. And before that, to verify, the last step you performed, like to install the StepZen, you can just type, StepZen, and then, check the version. And if it prints out the version, then everything is installed. StepZen is available all over the system. And yeah, in my case, it's saying me to upgrade it, but it's okay. So yeah, now we can go forward to see to in creating the data source. So in order to create a data source, first let's check if Docker is running. So we can just type Docker version. So as you see, Docker is running, and you can also see, it's running here. You can see the Docker engine, it's running. So everything is all right. You can check, if there are already existing containers, like, this gives you a list of all the containers running. So I'm already, using StepZen for the project, as I said. Apart from that, yeah, there's another container which I'm using for another use case. So so the command which you need to type in to create a Postgres database in Docker is nothing but, for example, Docker run, and then name of the container you want to do, for example, temporary database, and then yeah, then you just give, for example, the properties for the Postgres image to create the Postgres database successfully. For example, yes, Postgres username, I mean user. So let's put it like Mohammed, and then Postgres password for the database, like for the for the account. So this will be your login credentials for the Docker container, which is creating this Moit user within the database system. So that, yeah, so basically you're saying that the user is Mohit and the password is Mohit01. Like it's just a local container running, so it's okay that you can see my password. But you can just put it, you can make it complex, you can have it very simple. It just depends on, what case are you running this Docker command for. If it's in a production case, then you have this password hidden as a, secret key, and then you replace that with that secret key. If it's a local development, then you can just, yeah, have it like, user, admin, or whatever it is. So in similar way, that's the reason I just put it Mohit01, and the port you want the service to be exposed. So 5432, and then 5432. It can be anything above 5000. You can select any port number you want. You want to expose this service, and then you say, and with detached mode, you say post. So you're saying I want to use this, I want to use Postgres image of Alpine tag. So the Alpine tag, so there are multiple tags of Postgres. You can go to Docker Hub and check their official Docker repository to see what are different tag available tasks, and based on your usage, you can change that tag. So for now, this is what you need to type in your terminal, and then press enter. And this creates, as you see, this created one container. So if you go into your Docker desktop manager, then you go into containers. As you can see, the temporary database which we created now is running on 5432 port, and the service is exposed on this particular local host. And then, yeah, basically you have the database running, and you have set up the Postgres database on your system using Docker without touching your local system. So that's the cool part about using the Docker, so that you don't need to, yeah, make any changes or make any, perform any steps in your local system, so that, yeah, you have your local system with not been disturbed, and you can do experiments on this container. And if it if you make any mistake, or if you delete some file which you should not delete, then you can just delete this container and then recreate by running the step again, and then you should have your container again running, a new container again running, so that you can perform the steps again. Yeah, with that said, now let's add some data to this Postgres database. So in order to do that, you can just click here and say open in terminal. This will open, it will basically attach bash terminal to the container, which is basically using Ubuntu as a base. So basically the Ubuntu image, on top of that, the Postgres has installed its service into Ubuntu image, and then that is offered as an high level image with Postgres installed on Ubuntu system. So yeah, in order to connect to the user which you created, you need to for example, you can use this tool, PSQL, which is offered by uh, Postgres itself. So PSQL, then you just give in the DSL which it needs to dial to, so in order to connect to the database. So it's post there is QL, and then it's Mohit, the username, then Mohit01, the password, and then at the rate the address. So it's on local address, so 0.1, and the port number, which it's been exposed on 5432, and then slash the user. So basically you're saying I want to connect to this particular service using this credential and address and the port number. So if I just press enter, now you see as I'm connected to the user Mohit within Postgres user manager. And then if I, for example, type uh, L /L, then it shows a list of all the available databases. So basically, these are the default databases which are created by Postgres for it to run. So basically, as you see, there is more here. There is Postgres database. Basically, these are by default databases. So you don't need to worry like what are all this. So it's okay that if you see them also, then it means that it's working. So so congratulations that you logged into a database now. And now let's create a database, actual database, which we want to write data to. So you can write CR and then write tab so that it autofills. Uh, Create then database. Let's create a database for product. So the database created, and then and then let's check and then let's switch to the database. So if you want to check again, you can just do L, and now you see you have a product database created. So in a similar way, in order to switch, you have to press /C and the name of the database. So I just press tab again so that it autofills. And now you see I'm connected to that particular database as user Mohit. And everything looks good as of now. And now you can check if there's any table already exists within this database. There's nothing because it's an empty database which is created now. So it's okay that there's nothing in it. Now let's create a table inside that within this database. So create table, and the table name is item. And the item consists, in order to write data to item, it needs to fill in this following properties. For example, item ID is of type int, and then it acts as like a primary key. And then there's another property called item name, and this one is an varchar, which is nothing but character and a string of character, yeah, a set of characters. So it's 25, and it's not null, so you can just mention like not null. So this value cannot never be null. It should be having something. And then you have item cost. It's just an int, and then it also cannot be null. So this all this doesn't belongs to StepZen. It's very specific to Postgres. So if you guys are interested to learn more about it, yeah, just let me know. Like I can make a video on that. But yeah, these steps belongs to Postgres. So basically, you are doing all these operations to create your first data entry into Postgres. So yeah, with that saying, I think that's enough. So let's put it short. So we have item ID, we have an item name, and we have item cost. So as I said, the table is created, and yeah, everything looks well and good. Now let's insert some data, so insert into item. For example, the item ID, comma, the item name. And values, for example, one, yeah, my all-time favorite, yeah, no, Maggie. What else? Yeah, just put it like 20 rupees or something. And then I have my second all-time favorite, it's fruity. Let's put it like for 10 rupees. And then finally, yeah, so yeah, so these are the three items which we'll be putting into the table which we created, the item table. And these are the three entries, a bag, like, Maggie, Fruity, and Bourbon biscuit. And when I press enter, you see, it's inserted. To check, if the data is inserted, just type uh, select everything from item. And see, the table is created with the required data, the same data you just entered. So yeah, with this, we have created, a data source for our StepZen to connect to and then manage it. So and we also created some data entry into it, so that yeah, we can check, we can fetch this data using StepZen CLI. And then yeah, so in the next step, we will see how to connect StepZen to this particular data source. So yeah, so in the last step, we have created a database. We have put some entries into it, and yeah, now we have a data source to which we can write and also fetch data. And now let's see how to connect that database into steps in CLI. So in order to do that, you need to have and yeah, you need to use VS Code or your favorite, code editor, because in the later steps you'll be importing the schema of the GraphQL, which will be generated from the step using steps in CLI. So in order to do that, you can go into the folder in the project folder which you want this schema to be generated in. And then, for example, I created this particular folder, And in that folder, I'll just open my VS Code. And yeah, so once it opens, 1 second, let it load. So yeah, it's an empty folder. There's nothing inside it, and yeah, I opened. You can open a new terminal within this IDE using here. You just need to go to terminal and new terminal, and in within this now it'll open the terminal pointing to this particular folder. So here you just need to type in, for example, StepZen, uh, yeah, StepZen, and then service start, because we need to start a service. We just installed it previously, but now we need to start a service, and we can pass in a DNS path. So it's same as what we has given for the Postgres tool. So it's the same command. So PostgreSQL dash double slash, it's more here, and then it's a username and password, and then also at the rate followed by the address. So it's 127.0.0.1, and then followed by the port number 32 slash the username in within that system. And I see, it's, yeah, it's there, and just press enter. So then, now the StepZen will create a Docker container locally with the StepZen service running inside it, so that we don't need to use the online version basically. So basically, instead of using the online version, the same setup is being packed into a Docker image, and yeah, it can be used locally now. As you see, it has created a Docker container. As you can see, it's mentioned here. And now, if you go into Docker and see, there is a StepZen which is being created, and it's running on, this particular port. So it's running on particular port, and this has the StepZen service running inside it. So yeah, that's the cool thing about Docker. And the next thing is about StepZen supporting Docker. Yeah, and now we need to log in. Generally, this for the online version, you need to use the online key. For example, if you go here, if you go down, you'll be doing steps and login, and then you'll be getting your account name and admin key from your online account, and then yeah, that's how you log in. But for local development, you don't need to do that. So you just need to copy this uh, you know uh, particular command, and then just paste it, and then just press enter. And once it's done, yeah, see, you're logged in. So now you are logged in. So now so the next step, we will see how to import the data, which the data source we are exposing, for example, the Postgres data source. And by this step, we are already connected to the database, because we are already pointing the service to look into this particular DSN path. So now the steps that is connected to the database, and now in the next step, we'll see how to import that data. So yeah, in the last step, you have connected your StepZen to your data source, and now we'll see how to import the data source, the schema into this particular project. So basically, the schema is nothing but the StepZen will be reading your database, and it'll understand what is the properties, and what is the model, and then it generates the GraphQL standard schema file, which will basically having the schema definition and some GraphQL standard usages like queries and mutations. So basically, this requires a bit more understanding of GraphQL. But because we are not really going into GraphQL, just to give an idea, so in GraphQL, there are two two ways of like getting and manipulating the data. So in order to get the data, you use something called query. So whatever data you want to get from the data source, you just say that, yeah, you just define this query, and then you just define, what is the data it will be returning, and then yeah, you just get that particular data. And there's another thing called mutations. So mutation is nothing but you add if you want to add if you want to add a new row to the existing data, you just use mutation to add it. And you can also modify using mutation, and at the same time delete something using mutation. So the instead of the post delete get in the rest format, you always see this. Similarly, here we are using the two formats, which is query and mutation. So in order to generate that schema, we need to run to run StepZen, import PostgreSQL. Yeah. So now it lasts few questions, and you need to answer them, and then it'll connect. It'll connect as it's already connected. It'll go read the data, read the database and generate the schema for us. For example, it's asking, what do you call the endpoint? I'll just call API slash more endpoint. Mhm. And what is the host? The host is nothing but it's 127.0.0.1, and it's 5432. So basically that's our host. Uh, what is the username? It's Mohit. So it's all these questions are related to the database. And password, it's Mohit01. And the database name is product, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So if there are multiple tables inside this product, then yeah, you get multiple. So you get multiple type defs and their particular queries and mutations. So yeah, product, database schema, leave it blank. Yeah, you can just press no. Yeah, so basically now StepZen is doing that. It's doing its part. It will start generating the GraphQL schema for us, and once it's generated, as you see, it just generated the Postgres GraphQL schema for us. And see, that's the cool part. With just one command and answering few questions, now you have the schema generated. And yeah, basically, you can see, the same type def, like, the item cost, the item ID, the item name, followed by the type also. At the same time, as I was mentioning previously, there are two ways to fetch and modify data within using GraphQL. So this is the standard way. So you use query to query information, and you use mutation to make modifications. So for example, query here, if you want to query by ID, you can use this particular query in your front end to get that particular data based on ID. And then yeah, you can also get all the list of items without any without any property. So and it goes on. So this is how your StepZen is CLI is being connected to your data source, and then the GraphQL schema is generated. So in the next step, we will see how to start the service so that we can see that the data being displayed. So yeah, in the last step, we have created the GraphQL schema using StepZen for our data source. So basically, StepZen has connected to our database and created a GraphQL schema so that we can now run StepZen and then expose an GraphQL endpoint based on the schema. So in order to do that, you just need to type in StepZen start. And once you press enter, it should generate the endpoint. So as you see, it has been it has deployed this particular endpoint to StepZen. So basically, the online version, it's deployed it to the online version on the cloud, but locally, it's just deployed onto this Docker container, which is doing the same thing what an online version does. So now, in order to, do any, in order to use it in your project, you need to use this particular endpoint. But to just explore the data which is there and the schema which is being generated, you can go to the schema explorer, which is being exposed on this particular port. So go to your web browser, open, and just type this. And now you can see, it's loading, for example. Yeah, and now we can see, there is this particular interface where you can explore, yeah, different things. For example, this, query, like, this my query you see, this is being read from this particular file. So if you go here, you can see, item by item ID. So if you just see here, item by item ID. So for example, you want to get the whole list of all the available data which we have entered previously. And now if I press enter, if you remember, we have given this following data to the database previously in the last two steps back. So yeah, basically as you see, now the data is here. For example, I only want to query the item ID and the cost without the name. And if I type press enter, see, and now I'm just fetching the data which I need instead of writing multiple endpoints. Now I'm just doing, yeah, basically just selecting what I want and then getting that particular data. So so this is a good thing because now you don't need to have multiple endpoints, and you can really work on the your main task. For example, if you are purely a front-end developer, you can just use this to connect your data source, then get the particular data you need, and then yeah, have it. Uh, the same thing as the way you did query. You can also do mutation. For example, I want to insert an item. For example, the item name. For example, the item ID is 4. The cost is 50, and the item name is mm, yeah, something like uh, okay, let's put ABC just to put simple. And now I also want to, yeah, I also want to return item ID which was inserted, and now I just say run. And now we see the item ID which was inserted was 4. And now to check whether that item ID has been put into the database, you can, oh, sorry, you can just go for, query. Just add it here and then just remove this mutation. You don't need that. You just, I want to check, all the data which were entered. As you see, there's a fourth with ABC. So now basically we have put that into the database, and now it's available on the database. We can also check that. Not right here, sorry. For example, this is our database. We can use the same step, open in terminal, and then we can use the same thing. So as you see, there is a fourth entry within the database. So this is how, you can manage your database without, writing a complex backend. Initially, if you are in the initial state of the project and you don't want to really invest your time in this side of the project, you just want to concentrate on the front end, have the whole landscape ready, and then figure out what are the different data needs, and how the different or the need for different data sources you want in order to have your complete project. So yeah, so basically this is saving a lot of time for us. So yeah, that's how you use StepZen, and it's really cool. It's really a cool tool. I think yeah, if there's any opportunity in any of your use case, try to use it and see if you can use it to its full extent and play with it and see if you can find any new ways to use it. Yeah, you can let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, in order to stop, the service you are using, which you created now, you can just press Control C. It will stop the thing. And if you want to stop StepZen as a service, you can just, StepZen. Sorry, I can just go here, for example. Yeah, instead of start, I can just stop service. Stop. Sorry. So this will stop my service. And basically it's basically cleaning out the container which has created. If you see here, there's no more container, and then I can just say, yeah, log out because I was logged in. I can just say log out. Yeah, you're logged out. So now we are basically as fresh, and then you can just redo this step and then log in again and start the service again, then log in again and then connect and do the same steps which we did. And this file can be editable. It's not like this is fixed. You can write your own queries. You can write your own mutations, and then yeah, basically you can play around with this schema, and then yeah, you know, manage your data source and your API endpoints. So basically, this is how you use StepZen. I hope this video is helpful in a way for you to understand how to use StepZen, and you can go into the documentation. It's really clean and straightforward. You don't there's nothing confusing. Uh, and also, I think you can also use their Discord channel to ask questions if you have any problems in using it. You can also look into the other things like to import MySQL backends or existing REST API backends, something like that. So you can look into their documentation and then see your if your use case fit into this, and yeah, and if you can experiment with this. So basically that's steps in. So yeah, so I hope this video is helpful. If this video is really helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and also share with your colleagues and your friends so that yeah, if someone who is really in need of this type of information, yeah, it's useful for them, and at the same time, it's helpful for me to grow for my channel. So yeah. So thank you guys. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.